Hey everybody, Russell Gray, co-host of the Real Estate Guys radio show here in Module 6 or Episode 6 of our series on silver. Everything you wanted to know about silver but didn't know to ask. And of course, riding shotgun here, our resident silver precious metals expert, Dana Samuelson from American Gold Exchange. How you doing, Dana?
Good, Russell. Good to see you again.
It's good to be seen, in a crazy world where you don't get out much. It's nice to just at least virtually be able to have some human connection. So we have been working our way through the understanding silver. And, we talked at the top, the very first episode, about why it's important, why now. Obviously, there's concerns about the long-term value of the dollar. It's got a long history of falling. And of course, you've got now maybe the accelerated collapse imminent or looming with all the printing they're doing. And people who are concerned about that turn to precious metals. And so we've covered some of that. In this episode, we want to talk about the types of silver that are out there for people to buy and buying smart. And I think let's just start out with a term that gets thrown out a lot in the silver community, and that's physical or fizz. People say, I got the fizz, I'm a stacker. What does all that mean, and what are they comparing it to?
Well, physical silver is the actual, mined, refined, and manufactured product that you can hold in your hands. It's as simple as that. So there's bars, there's coins, there's old coins. It just means you can physically hold it in your hand and you know that it's real silver and it's good silver. So it's pretty simple. There are a lot of choices. Some are really good. Most are pretty good. There's a few things that, you want to be a little bit leery of, but it's just physical silver versus the other forms to own, which are mining stocks of silver or ETFs, jewelry you mentioned before we started taping. So it's just physical silver that's tradable and made by reputable manufacturers, whether it's old, mints from years ago or, currently made by mints or private manufacturers.
Yeah. So here's the thing, because there's a ticker symbol out there, SLV, and people can buy and trade silver or gold in the stock market, and they can, trade the price fluctuations, buy low, sell high, which, basically the round trip is you go from cash to buying the asset to selling the asset, hopefully at a higher price, and ending up with cash again. So if your goal in life is to accumulate cash and save cash, then you want to trade. But if your goal in life is to accumulate money and save money, then you want to accumulate money or metals. And we covered that in previous episodes. So to have your mind around the difference between currency and money, then go back and watch that episode. But our goal here is to accumulate. And so we're not really interested in paper, because the flip side of the physical, what you just described, Dana, is paper or claims. So what does a claim on silver look like?
Well, an ETF is simply an exchange-traded fund that is either fully or partially backed by silver that hopefully is actually there, whether it's fully backed or partially backed. And it's a way to, as you said, trade the silver price on paper. It's not real silver you can hold in your hands, of course. It's a little bit easier to buy and sell because you can do it on your computer at the flick of a switch, which is nice. But if you want to take delivery, you can't. You're either in cash or in the ETF or back into cash.
Yeah. So I think the point there for everybody to understand, it took me a while to get my mind around it, but once I realized my goal was to accumulate metal, not currency. And then I realized that all an ETF was basically what banks used to be to gold and silver. So in the old days, before we went off those standards, you've got these dollar bills that look just like the dollar bills we carry around today, but instead of them saying Federal Reserve note, which is an IOU, not quite sure what they owe you because there's no way to redeem it. So it's just a blank IOU, but that's a different discussion. But they used to say payable to bearer on demand, $1 silver dollar. And so a dollar was actually a very specific unit of silver. And if you were old enough back in the day, you could carry around a $20 gold certificate and you could go into the bank. So those paper claims weren't physical, but they were coupons, redeemable, or claim checks that were redeemable for real metal. And of course, the game was the bankers quickly figured out they could print way more coupons than they actually had metal. And I think, Dana, what I just heard you say is it's possible, if not likely, that there's some of that going on today, but it's not the banks that are playing the game, it's these funds.
That's exactly right. So it's a claim against silver that is in a warehouse somewhere.
Yeah, so I guess the bottom line there is if you are concerned about what we call counterparty risk, meaning that the asset that you have, it means it is only good if the person who owes it to you pays, then when you own a claim on silver, paper silver we call it, you don't really own the silver, you own a claim, and your claim is only going to be as good as the person or entity that is backing that up.
Right. That's exactly right.
Yeah. So I think for most people who are buying metal for the purpose of hedging against systemic collapse and currency collapse are also wanting to be hedged against counterparty risk. And they're probably much more interested in owning physical in their own possession or in a private vault somewhere, rather than having anything in the system or any claim that somebody else has to honor in order for you to really get your money.
Right. As you said, it's a way to get some of your money out of the banking system, out of dollars, and put it into something else.
Okay. So you can either hold physical or you can hold paper. And we've decided that probably, at least from our opinions, and that's all, we're not investment advisors, we're just giving you our information and opinions. But it sounds like having physical metal in your possession is probably a more conservative way to play for the long-term collector of silver and gold.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay, so let's talk about the types of silver there. I've got 4 on my list here: bullion, numismatic, junk, and jewelry. And maybe some people have heard these terms, maybe they haven't, but let's just start at the top. Bullion. What is bullion?
Bullion are just simply either 1 ounce pieces minted by a sovereign mint today or a private refinery, 5 ounce bars, 10 ounce bars, 100 ounce bars. There's even 1,000 ounce bars of silver you can get, kilogram bars, which are 32.15. It's just metal for metal's sake that has a small premium for manufacturing, distribution, small profit to the dealer that's handling it. So it's just as basic as it gets. It is metal for metal's sake.
So maybe arguably the cheapest way in terms of dollars to buy relatively pure silver and take possession of it.
Yes, yes. And this would be silver that is actually pure. It's 999 fine, 0.999 fine or pure or more. 4 nines fine. This is not
my personal favorite. Yes, I'm a 49er. I prefer 4 nines over 3, but we'll talk about that in the next episode.
Your old silverware that your parents have, your grandparents have, you don't see very much of anymore. That's sterling silver. That's 0.925 fine. That means it's got 7.5% other added to it to harden it up a little bit. That's not pure. So it's got to go to the refinery to get the other stuff out to make it pure.
Well, it's kind of like the difference between, say, a Canadian maple, which is 4 nines pure, and an American eagle, which is 3 nines pure. And even though they both contain exactly 1 troy ounce of silver, it's my understanding, but the American eagle, they add a little bit of zinc, I believe, or is it copper?
No, it's 1 ounce of pure silver. It's just not quite as pure as it might be.
Well, I thought they added something to it to harden it so that it didn't scratch, no?
No, it's 1 ounce of pure silver. It's just the Canadian mint's a little bit better at getting that little tiny extra out of the purity.
Okay.
Get that extra digit out.
How many times it gets refined. Okay. So, see, I didn't know that. I've been operating under false assumption. Not that it matters, but I tend to prefer 4 nines. Okay. So now let's talk about something that you know quite a bit about and maybe isn't relevant to silver if you understand the business. But if you don't understand the business, this is a term you hear and a term that sometimes gets misused or maybe even used to abuse naive investors. And that's numismatic. What is numismatic and how does that work? And does it apply to silver? And what are the kind of the pros and cons?
Well, numismatics are collector coins, basically coins that were minted either back in the day to be used as coins that are scarce today because they were made in the 1960s or the 1930s and earlier. And coins typically survive. People think they're special, so they hoard them. Gresham's law says that bad money drives good money out of circulation. So these are coins that have a collector premium. They're worth more than their weight in metal. So that is what numismatics really means, is they have some collector value. So there's
But some of that value is then subjective, is it not? And it's going to be based on, you know, what people are willing. I mean, all prices are discovery, or should be, based on supply and demand. But when people are bidding on pure bullion, you know, a maple coin is a maple coin is a maple coin, or an American eagle is American eagle is an American eagle, maybe with slight nuances, like this one is a brand new, minted this year, 2020, and this is one that is, you know, brand new from, or maybe not even brand new, but, you know, a couple years old. But other than that, they're basically the same. But when you find something that's maybe a little bit rare, like maybe there was a minting error and somebody, you put a double image or the wrong date or something, the wrong phrase or the wrong picture, and all of a sudden that's super rare. Things like that. So there's the cost of the metal, and then there's whatever premium a collector would be willing to pay to get something that is a little bit more rare.
Right. So most silver eagles that the U.S. Mint has made since 1986 are worth their silver value. There's a couple of years in the mid 90s that have some collector value because the mintages were very low in 1995 and 1996. So 1996 silver eagle is worth more than double its silver value because it's kind of scarce and people collect the series. That's what we mean by some numismatic value.
Gotcha.
The older vintage coins generally have collector value that would make them not appropriate for the purposes of our discussions.
So when it comes to silver and silver investing, and you and I have had this conversation offline, but I want to make sure we bring it up. Does it make sense to be a numismatic silver coin collector? Is that a good way to accumulate silver, or what are your thoughts there?
Well, there is some leverage that some of these coins can offer you that will give you enhanced profitability above what you pay for them when demand is greater than supply. I mean, it's a classic equation. But I would only do that after you have your silver stacking position, your bullion position in place first. So you want to own metal for metal's sake, whatever forms, we'll talk about that in a little bit. But you really don't want to make this the base of your portfolio. You want to make it the peak of your portfolio.
Gotcha.
You want to add a little, have a little fun, but it's, you know, it's a way to, like I said, leverage your position. For example, MS65, these are gem quality silver dollars that were made in the 1880s. You know, for most of my career, they were worth about $75.
Okay, so you just threw down some jargon. I'm going to stop you for a second. So MS way, I understand it. Correct me if I'm wrong, is mint state.
Mint state, yeah. These are gem quality coins, like the Mint made them yesterday with no scratches on them.
So 65, is that the highest?
No, they go higher, 66, 67, and 68. But these
what do those numbers mean?
It's a quality rating within the series. So 60 to 70 means uncirculated.
Gotcha.
You know, an MS63 coin is choice uncirculated. They make these bags, they make coins and put them in 1,000 coin bags, and they scratch each other.
Right.
There's no wear on them, but they have contact marks on them. They're big, heavy coins with reeded edges.
Yeah.
So just for an example, a gem quality coin means it looks really, really like the Mint just made it yesterday. For most of my career, these were worth about $75, $80. And then when the silver boom hit in 2010 and 11, they went up to about $175. Then they came all the way back down to $75.
So now these are the coins you keep in little plastic, you know, hard case shells, and only handle with gloves, and yell at your kid if they drop it on the floor.
Yeah, they're independently certified by a quality rating service. So you're not taking my word for it. You're taking an industry standard for what the quality rating is.
Okay, so it isn't totally subjective then.
Yeah, well, it's a vibrant marketplace, but it's a thin marketplace made only by dealers. So it's not like you know, walk in anywhere. Anyway, there's some leverage there that you can get, but it's not the way how you want your base of your portfolio to consist of.
Yeah, I normally think when you go numismatic, it probably is more fun with gold, but anyway, be that as it may. So let's move on to junk. We hear the term junk, and believe me, it's not junk. I mean, I know they call it junk, but you know, if you want to throw it in the recycle bin, call me, I'll come over and collect it. So tell us what junk silver is, Dana.
Well, the U.S. Mint started making silver coins in 1793. And they made silver coins all the way till 1964. So the dimes, quarters, and half dollars that were 1964 and earlier look different then coins minted later that are not silver, that are copper and nickel. So these coins are 90% silver purity. And we call them junk 90% because they're used, they were used, but when the mint changed over, we went off the silver standard basically in 1965, people hoarded this silver and they took it out of circulation and held on to it because people suspected that it might have more value in the future, and they were right. So this is a way to own physical silver made by the US Mint that typically has a lower premium because we don't have to pay the mint to make it. They made it years ago. All we have to do is make sure that it's 1964 and earlier, and they're not, don't have a hole drilled in them, or they're too worn that you can barely tell what they are. And when you put $1,000 face value into a bag.
I mean, what they're worth on the face. Like if I have a roll of quarters, it's worth $10 face value, but on the street, based on the value, it's probably more like what, $250, something like that?
Yeah, it's going for about 15, 16 times face value today for silver value.
Yeah.
But these $1,000 face value bags are about the size of a football. They weigh 55 pounds and they have 715 ounces of pure silver contained. So that's a way we trade these old junk coins, but you can buy them in $100 face value bags, whatever you want. It's just a matter of counting it out.
Well, something, Dana, that you said was interesting is that, that people started hoarding these things. And I was a coin collector in the 60s, as a child. That's kind of where I got my love of all this and interest, although I kind of let it all go and it didn't pick back up till I started studying economics and the dollar and interest rates in the bond market. And all of a sudden I realized, oh my gosh, they took the money out. I remember seeing it happen. And of course I watched Richard Nixon come on TV in 1971 after the Ed Sullivan show. I remember watching it live, telling everybody, and you can see this on YouTube, but telling everybody he was taking us off the gold standard because of the evil speculators temporarily. Well, a lot of people don't know this, but Lyndon Johnson told everybody when he took the silver out of the coins, because he was the president at the time that oversaw the, I'm going to call it the confiscation of the silver from the people's money. He told everybody, hey, there's no need to hoard the silver coins. They're not going to be worth any more than the regular coins. They're just as good. And we've got millions of ounces of silver to back it up, Yeah, right. How'd that play out?
Well, that's what politicians say.
That's what politicians say. So, when people are telling you, hey, this financial system's in good shape, the dollar's strong, this is all about you just saying, well, maybe they mean well, but they haven't always been accurate. So just to hedge my bets a little bit, might be good to have a little bit of this in my portfolio. I might want to hold all my liquidity in paper dollars, but I might want to hold some of it in real money, time-tested money, precious metals, gold and silver. Okay, so that's junk. And of course, if you were foolish enough to, I suppose you could take a piece of junk silver and go sell it or go trade it for face. I mean, I could take a silver quarter from 1960 and drop it in a vending machine if I wanted to. But of course I wouldn't do that because I'm knowledgeable enough not to do that. I would go, if I really wanted to put the money in the vending machine, I would take it to a dealer like you and sell it and get 10 quarters and then go back and use the vending machine. And so that's kind of the way, silver works, or junk silver works. But now I'm going to close it. You mentioned this a little bit, jewelry, silverware, real silverware. I just got done cleaning out a closet and found a couple of old silver candlestick holders.
Oh yeah, sure.
Very heavy. Yeah.
Right.
Tarnished, it's like they look really bad, but they're actually worth quite a bit because it's silver.
Right, exactly. So that's how, silverware used to be commonly made out of sterling silver, but pure silver is a little soft. So it's like gold coins. They add a little bit of alloy to it, reducing the purity a little bit, makes it a lot harder, much more durable.
Yeah.
That's why our junk 90% silver coins are 90% silver with other added, so that they're more durable in use as currency.
Well, so there's people out there who purchase gold jewelry as a hedge against confiscation of bullion and coins. Mm-hmm. And one of the reasons people use numismatic or collectibles is because, at least based on precedent, those were exempted. If you had a collectible coin, you didn't have to turn that in when the government came asking. You just had to turn in your bullion coins, your regular coins, and ditto for jewelry. And a lot of times when you're going through security in an airport or crossing borders, so obviously, you're not going to be carting through bags of silver cutlery and things like that. But is there a place in modern investing for people to collect jewelry and we're talking silver now, not gold,
Right.
cutlery, these types of things? Is that worth doing, or would someone be maybe better off selling those at whatever today's price is and immediately converting them into bullion or even junk silver?
Yeah, I would convert uh, jewelry and sterling silver into pure silver in tradable form because it's not really usable. I mean, it's a good way to hold value, but we don't see a lot of silver jewelry to start with. It's not very popular. And jewelry typically isn't pure because same reason, it's not as durable. It doesn't last as long. So we
Yeah.
see a lot more of the, it was more common to see sterling silver in the 70s and 80s and into the early 90s. You don't see very much of it these days.
I had a little silver with a little blue, light blue, whatever kind of stone that was. There was a lot of that
Yeah, right.
hippie jewelry, I called it.
No,
Okay. All right. So, all right. Well, so that's types of silver and buying smart. Are there any closing comments you have, Dana? Things that people need to understand about the types of silver that are available, or, we already talked about gold silver ratio, but anything else you feel like they need to know about the forms that silver comes in and how to make good decisions?
well, if you're interested in buying silver today, I would stay with mainstream products. We'll talk about that a little bit more in a minute. I really wouldn't get into the more esoteric like sterling silverware or jewelry. Junk and bullion is really the way to go for people
Yeah. Okay. So I
today.
think, Dana, what I hear you saying is that if you're going to hold silver for the purpose of um, money, savings, and somewhere you're going to need to convert it back into currency so you can actually spend it, you want something that is going to be most liquidatable, where there's going to be the greatest number of people that would be interested in taking it in whatever form you're holding it.
Right. Recognizable, easily tradable, easily sellable, competitively priced. That's correct.
Gotcha. Okay, good stuff. All right, ladies and gentlemen, so that's the conclusion of this segment. We'll be on to the next one where we're going to cover silver purity, pricing, premiums, and packaging. So stick with us. We'll be right back. Hey, thanks for watching our silver investing series videos. We hope you're getting a lot out of them. Before you go, 3 things. Number 1, subscribe. When you subscribe, you build up our subscription base, and that helps us reach more people. But even more important, it helps us attract great guests and subject matter experts to share their ideas and information with you. Number 2, click that notification bell to make sure that when we do post a new video on this hot topic, you're notified right away. And number 3, share. Please share this information with friends, help them get on board this bus, help them protect and preserve their wealth to take advantage of what's going on in the world today. All right, thanks so much, and we'll see you in the next video.